For case 5, we had to do a report on due diligence, private placement memorandum, and term sheet by Kenny Wise. Due diligence is done when a company is looking to acquire or merge with another company. They are assessing what kind of risk they'll be taking by acquiring the company, and this also helps them price what a company should spend on a takeover or merger. Due diligence is important because the takeover company doesn't want to take a loss or overpay, and so a thorough due diligence should help them protect themselves from that. During due diligence, a takeover company will want to look into these important sectors. The takeover company will want to do a financial audit. Things to look for are the financial statements of the previous 3 years along with the projection of these statements 3 years forward. If the target company deals with overseas financials, the takeover company should value what the foreign exchange rate fluctuations could be along with other government instabilities. It is important to ask what kind of accounting principles are being used at the other company also. For the legal sector, a company should see if there are lawsuits against or pending lawsuits initiated by the company that might affect whether another company is willing to take on these problems or not. Another legal aspect could be the company's patents, copyrights, licenses, and trademarks that need to be looked into. When Google acquired Motorola, a lot had to do with the number of patents they could acquire. They took on the financial risk of a failing Motorola because during their due diligence, Google felt that the large number of patents Motorola had would overcome the financial risk and help them in the long run. Another part of due diligence is to look at the company's management team to see how well they are performing. Maybe the takeover company will want to put in a new management team, but if they do, they should look at the previous company's compensation arrangements, such as severance policies and agreements, and see if it is worth putting in a new team. For research and development, factors such as technology, timing, cost, and risk could all affect how the takeover company perceives the research and development team. Another area that could play a factor is the production team to see if there are improvements to make. In recent news, HP accused Anatomy of cooking their books during their buyout so that they would pay more. HP didn't send in their own audit team, so their due diligence quickly backfired against them. If they had hired their own audit team, they might have found that the books had been inflated and would have not taken on the company. By trusting an audit team that they had not hired meant that they did not fully do a due diligence into acquiring this company. This in the end hurt HP because they vastly overpaid at $11.1 billion. Private placement memorandum is used to acquire capital by issuing shares by small or growing companies. PPM is a quick way to set up funds without having to go through a filing process with the SEC. Not allowed to advertise or general solicitate and must be in full compliance with both federal and state law. Careful thing about PPM is to make sure you stay within state law because that varies between other states. By stating the risk, the company is not only protecting the investor but themselves as well against the SEC. The document will protect the company from any potential claims of risk not being disclosed. And when stating the risk, it is important to have facts and be truthful about the financial numbers. Part of PPM is is Section 4-2, which allows the exemption of registering with the SEC. The company is not allowed to advertise their private placement memorandum or have solicitation. Under this section, it states that the number of offerees should be kept small. There is no exact definition of small, which is why ppm is strange. Another aspect of the section is that the offering should be limited to insiders or sophisticated investors. The last part of the section is that potential investor should be given a financial statement, a list of potential risks of the company, and an offering to inspect the facilities and records of the company. Section 3A11 states that the company can only seek an offeree in the same state of the company. Regulation D, Rule 504 states that a company is not allowed to receive or offer more than $1 million within a span of 12 months without reporting to the SEC, unless it is from an investment company. The company also must submit Form D within 15 days of a sale. Regulation D, Rule 505 states that the sales of up to $5 million of the company's securities are allowed within a 12-month period. The company is allowed an unlimited number of accredited investors and up to 35 non-accredited investors. For Rule 506, there is no dollar limit with an unlimited number of accredited investors and up to 35 non-accredited investors. However, the non-accredited investor still must be a sophisticated investor. They must not fall within the 8 categories Rule 501A states, but they must still have a knowledge and experience in business investments. Again, for Rule 506, there is still no advertisement or general solicitation. A term sheet is a document that outlines the material terms and conditions of a business agreement. It may not be a binding agreement, but it's more of an outline for agreed upon terms of business. Venture capitalists generally use a term sheet to outline a proposed investment. The term sheet covers the amount of the investment, the type of security, warrant coverage, ownership, management options, among others. It is important for the entrepreneur to have some type of leverage. If they are looking for a quick financial gain, venture capitalists will set the term sheet more into their favor because they know time is on their side. It is important for an entrepreneur to hire a lawyer with a good background in venture capitalist financing in order to spot items that will not work in their favor. And entrepreneurs cannot let the venture capitalists have all the power during the negotiation. Venture capitalists do term sheets for a living, and they generally have about 3 to 4 a month compared to entrepreneurs who have about 1 or 2 throughout their life. And so venture capitalists have figured out ways to word items to their favor without entrepreneurs being able to recognize this. So that is why it is important to control most of the negotiations into an entrepreneur's favor.